What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Wallet Monkey channel, where we give you all the credit intel you need to grow your wallet. Well, we're just about in the middle of 2022, and we need to talk once again about utilization. Utilization, I think, is the most important key on your credit report. Outside of everything else, I think this is the #1 killer of your credit score. And we're gonna go through a bunch of data. I'm gonna share a bunch of stuff with you here. And I guess my hope is that if you weren't already thinking like this, and if I could maybe persuade you to start thinking that this is more serious than you might have previously thought. Okay, so tune in with me, right? I hope you enjoy this. I know that everyone thinks payment history is #1, right? And it's simple. It's 35% of the FICO score. Here's our FICO score model right here, okay? I don't think it is. I think amounts owed, I think utilization matters way more than maybe this model even utilizes, or with how they actually are factoring on the backside. Because we've got a few things here. Over the years now, I mean, probably the last 3-4 years, I've now encountered hundreds of people who they've got lates from 2-3 years ago, they've got derogatories on their account, they've got bankruptcies from 2-3 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, you name the amount of time, and they've got it, but they've got low utilization, and they are getting higher limit cards than people who should be getting higher limits than them. So how are these people able to do this? I think it's right here. This is my thoughts. So this is what I think is absolutely 100% true. This is where everyone's putting their focus, right? Oh, remove the late payments, remove the medical collection, remove all that. Don't get me wrong, a collection is devastational, especially if you've got lates like in the last year or two, very hard to get over. That being said, I would argue that relationship banking is the most important thing you could focus on anyways. You basically have to garden, you have no choice, and then you're trying to find credit repair companies that will remove this crap for you off your report, or you're diving into, buying letter packets and trying to send this stuff out yourself via certified mail, right? You're going through the grind, so there's not much else you could be doing. We need to be building relationships. Again, I've seen this to where there's a 2 or 3 year old collection or bankruptcy, and these guys are getting high limit cards because their utilization is 1%, 5%, etc. Let's get into this. Let's get into some actual data. Enough of me talking. So let's look at this. FICO score range from 300 to 850, right? Look at how this breaks down for average credit utilization ratio. Obviously, the very poor to fair scores, which is 300 to 669, which is the bulk of people, are sitting with way too much utilization. And it's a double-ended sword. It's like it feeds itself. How are you supposed to get out of it? You can't, so you spend more, or whatever comes up, and emergency comes up, or gosh, name it, over the last 2 years, right? And then this just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. But this data is from 2020, and it's the first time that we saw a huge decline in utilization ratios over a 12-month period ever. So that data looked good. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff reverted back, so it was like a good attempt and a good habit forming process, but it didn't really stick for a lot of people. Interesting how this also accounts for 33% of the population have a poor credit score. Percentage of population 16 and 17, that's like 33%. So 33% of the population have a poor to fair credit score. Most people actually now have a good credit score on both FICO and Vantage. So that's the good news. And credit scores are gradually going up year after year. Another good thing is credit scores tend to go up the older you get, because the older you get, the more you realize how important it is, right? Now let's look at the opposite end of the scale. Those with 800 to 850 are only utilizing on average 5.7% of their credit. That is absolutely incredible. And this amount of people is 21% of the population. Now understand that I think FICO right now ranks about 236 million people. So that's not bad. That's a lot of people. That's a bulk of the percentage. We're not talking about some survey with 1,000 people trying to, give you a piece of data here. We're talking about a lot. This is not a coincidence, these two factors. Okay, so there's a lot of things that coincide together. And some of it's unfortunate. I know some of it's probably triggering, but there's 3 things that coincide. Higher net worth individuals have higher scores. Higher earners have higher credit scores, and those with higher credit scores have lower utilization. Again, it's cyclical. Just as it's cyclical at the bottom, it's cyclical at the top. So those with good credit scores tend to keep good credit scores, or keep getting great opportunities come to them, because people with money are always having opportunities presented to them, right? I mean, and this just would make total sense. So it's the kind of same thing here. Average FICO score in the US right now is 716. Average Vantage score is 695. Both are considered good, like I said. Things are looking better, but we've got to change something here. Like, we've got to absolutely change these lower percentile brackets, right? This is just too much of the population that is falling into poor to fair category. I would argue that like this is your single-handed best weapon. Now, I don't know how you're gonna get there, right? Maybe you can actually get a good personal loan, right, through a good creditor like Goldman, Marcus, Discover, Amex, somebody like that, to where they're not going to gouge you out with interest rates. It's not going to be subprime. It's not going to end up being over 200% when you pay it back. It's not some payday loan type crap, but it's got a good rate to it, and it's not predatory, and it doesn't require any securedness upfront or anything to secure it. But you might not be able to do that. I'm telling you though that there is a lot of value in still doing this. Even though FICO 10, if you don't use the personal loan properly, FICO 10 and 10T is gonna penalize you when that continues to get rolled out. But if you use a personal loan properly, then there's nothing wrong with that. They will not penalize you on that new scoring model, right? So if we could get a loan and pay down the high utilization cards, our score can jump upwards of 100 points. I've seen it. It still kind of like blows me away every time I see it. So imagine that, your score jumping just 100 points. Now, there's a million things we could talk about in terms of benefits. We get better APRs the higher our score is, because as we go through the brackets from good score to very good to exceptional, the amount of sub or sign up bonus that we get, the interest rate, all of that completely changes. But at the subprime end of the scale, we are paying so much more. Car loans, auto loans, mortgages, credit card APRs, everything you can imagine. And that's on top of everything else that you're already paying in terms of inflation, taxes, etc. Now keep in mind something too, this is a little bit dated of a survey now, but 90% of lending decisions are based off of the FICO scoring models. Now, for some credit limit increases, like I know the Synchrony Bank Amazon card, as well as I think Navy Fed still does this, they will utilize Vantage TransUnion. I think it's 4.0 that they'll use for that, for a credit limit increase. But outside of that, like most primary to get in the door especially will utilize FICO. So FICO is where the attention should be, because that's where most of the action is happening. And again, I'm telling you, this, you could spend a ton of money with credit repair companies, never getting this stuff off your report. It's still, to me, it's not gonna be as important as this. Because once we get these things paid down, our utilization goes down, okay? Our score goes up, but our opportunities go up as well. So then our opportunities allow us to get more credit to then continue to thin out our utilization, yes? And then these things just get snowballed, because clearly where we're heading with the ultra FICO model and a lot of this, the fintech stuff, where they're using these alternative scoring models, is where we're heading with a lot of this is linking up your checking and savings account, being able to prove that you got cash on hand, not going negative, no non-sufficient fund fees, no funny business like that happening on the account. And that is proving to now be valuable in terms of staking up reputation to then get something in return. In this case, credit or credit score. And FICO is working with Experian and all the top vendors anyways with this new ultra FICO model. So, and FICO's already the big dog, as I told you. It's unfortunate, like I said, that lower scores and lower utilization give lower opportunities as well. So lower score and higher utilization tends to be lower income earners as well. And lower income earners get trapped. The highest interest rates, they got the highest utilization, they got the lowest amount of cards, the lowest amount of total overhead credit card limits, right? Those are lower. They're getting $500 approval cards, $1,000, $2,000, a great card. I remember that. And I've also too lived off of cards to where they're floating somewhere between 75 to 90% maxed out all the time. At some point, you got to change that. You got to reprogram that. So we got to find an edge, whether we're going back to school and getting more education, going to YouTube University, getting courses, something to where we can increase our edge to make more money or start a side hustle so we can get more cash flow in to then do this. But I'm telling you, this is where we want to put our focus. If everything's turning relationship based, Navy Fed considers DTI one of the most important variables, debt to income ratio. That's utilization once again, right? And so many companies now are willing to look past derogatories, especially if they're over 2 years old. But I'm sure you've heard it, right? Somebody that just went bankrupt a couple years ago, and now Amex just gave him a 3K card, a 10K card. How's that possible? How come this guy got it and I didn't? Because I'm telling you, this is where we need to put our focus. High utilization is the #1 credit killer. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Let me share one more thing with you before I let you go though. Here's what we're up against. I'm gonna share it to you in 4 charts. It's gonna be the easiest thing you've ever looked at. M2, this is the money supply. This is how much money that they've printed. Well, last year alone, over 2020 to 2021, they printed 40% of the circulating supply of the US dollar in 1 year. That's never happened in the history of fiat. Okay, now looking good. Our purchasing power. This is from 1913 up to 2019. I'm sure you've seen this before. 0.05 cents is about the value that you're getting out of each dollar. Personal savings rate. So this is deteriorating trust in the US dollar. There's too many dollars floating around. Everyone knows it's worthless. So is anyone saving it? No. They did during COVID because uncertainty. But now that, game's back on, well, we're back down to 2008, 2009 levels of personal savings rate. And where is everybody playing? Are they playing in the realm of real financial assets, which is where all the high income earners play and invest their time and money, which is land, it's real estate, it's boats, it's tangible stuff, it's commodities, it's collectibles, it's art, it's that sort of thing, or financial assets, which are risk-based equities, government bonds, all of that. Here's your answer to that. And I've shared this chart quite a few times. Everyone's playing in the financial asset game. And what's interesting is even high earners, they have even more financial assets as well. So they have real assets, financial assets, they have everything. This is where it's come to. Nobody's saving because the dollar's deteriorated and the trust in the dollar is deteriorated. So everyone's going to alternate things to get yield, to get value. What's the average APY on a savings account? 0.010. An insane amount to get 0.7, which I think is like what? Less than $10 a year on $1,000 if you added no more money to it? How is that ever going to get you ahead? So this is what we're up against. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. High utilization, the #1 credit killer. You agree, you disagree? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you want this video to get in front of more people, I think education like this is really, really important. Hopefully you agree. Just click the like button. You know the algorithmic game that we're doing here on YouTube. And if you like this sort of thing, personal finance, credit card stuff, stick around. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, turn it to all. Be on the lookout, more videos coming soon. See ya.